Hey, good morning. Or so today we are going to the fourth lecture of DSP class. Um, so today we will be revisiting the convolution that we have already seen. Convolution basically means that it is linear. Uh, so you call it a linear convolution. The convolution that you usually do is called a linear convolution. So today we shall revisit the linear convolution and we shall see what happens when you go to the DFT domain, when you go to the frequency domain in the sample version DFT, what happened in time domain. We shall see those relations and we shall see how the linear convolution change and what happened to those things we shall see. So okay. So to start with, let us let us assume that you have a system which has given an input xn, and you have, say, hz, which is a transfer function of a system, and you get yn. So if xn has a set transform xz and yn has a set transform yz, hz is the basically the transfer function. You know that yz is xz into hz. So if you write it in this in terms of frequency response, this can be written as x e raised to j omega into h e raised to j omega, same as y e raised to j omega. So you multiply, so this is the frequency response. So which all frequencies are with amplified by whatever amount, this is given by sorry, h e raised to j omega, which is the frequency response, and when x e raised to omega has those frequencies, they will be multiplied by the corresponding magnitude, and you get the spectrum of the output y omega. And if you take the inverse transform to get the time domain function yn, you can get that. Now, we know that xn, suppose xn is a signal, select this. So you have 1, 2, 1, 2, and this is xn, and suppose you have yn given by, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3. Then this is represented as 0, 1, 2, 3, and you normally put an arrow here representing that this is the 0 index, n equal to 0, small n equal to 0. So this is 1, this is 1, 2, 1, 2, this is 1, 2, 1, 2, and you have the 0, n equal to 0, you have 1, then 2, 1, 2, this is xn. So this is xn, and yn is, you represent it as 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have the arrow here. Okay. So these xn and yn, you know that instead of yn, I'll put this as hn. So this is hn. So this is hn. So this is also hn. When xn is a signal like this, suppose that there was only one signal delta function at n equal to 0, then you know that inverse transform of HZ is Hn, which is also called impulse response. So when you give an impulse like this one, what you're going to get is the response, or the output Yn will be the impulse response. So for one, delta function at n equals 0, what you're going to get at Yn is h n itself. So you get h of n multiplied by, if this magnitude was 3, that would have been multiplied by 3. So here I will multiply it with 1. So 1 into Hn, you are trying to find what will be the y of n. So y of n is 1 into Hn. That is, you give an impulse, your output is impulse response Hn. Then you have a shifted version of impulse, which can be represented as delta n minus 1. So what will you get at the output when you give a shifted version of the impulse? When you shift the impulse by 1, your impulse response also shift by 1. So instead of Hn, you will get Hn minus 1, and you have a magnitude of 2. So 2 multiplied by Hn minus 1 will be what you get if you give a impulse which is shifted by 1. So for this signal, the output will be 2 into Hn minus 1. So I'll add it here because this is a linear time invariant system. So individual signals, if you consider Xn as individual impulses which are shifted versions, all these outputs will be added together because this is a linear time invariant system. So plus 2 into Hn minus 1 plus 1 into, we have a 2 shift version. So output will be shifted by Hn will be shifted by 2. So 1 into Hn minus 2 plus, again you have 2 here, 2 into Hn minus 3 . So this is the output that you're going to get if you give an input like this. Because for an impulse, you get an Hn. For a shifted impulse, you get a shifted Hn. So like that, when your magnitude changes to 1, 2 like this, that also changes here. So this is basically, these are the value 1, 2, 1, 2 are the values of Xn. So you can write this as, this is the value of x0 into Hn. So instead of Hn, I will write as Hn minus 0. Hn minus 0 and Hn are same. Plus x1 into Hn minus 1 plus x2 into Hn minus 2 plus x3 into Hn minus 3. So this is what you finally get as y of n. This you can write as sigma, say k, let us introduce a variable k varying from say 0 to 3. So of k, h of n minus k varying from 0 to 3. This is x0 into Hn minus 0. For n k equal to 1, this becomes x of 1 into Hn minus 1, which is this term. For n equal to 2, x2 into Hn minus 2, which is this term. That. So basically, if you have, say, capital N number of terms, or suppose you have infinite number of terms, this can be generalized as sigma k equal to 0 to infinity xk Hn minus k. So this is how you find y of n. This is how you find y of n. And this xk, here you are going through a an operation between xn and hn. You call this operation as convolution, and is represented as star. So yn is represented as xn convolution h of n. So when you tell that xn is convolved with h of n, it is basically a linear convolution, and you mean by it what you are doing is sigma k equal to 0 to infinity x k h n minus k. If it is continuous domain, the same thing happens. It is yt equal to integral, instead of summation you have integral minus into infinity x of tau h of t minus tau d2. Same thing is represented in a summation form. So yn equal to xn in convolved h of n. Okay, now how will you find this x of k and h of x of k multiplied by h of n minus k? How we normally do it is, we'll see it. Basically, we have seen this in signals and systems, but we'll again revisit it so that we'll correlate it into the new kind of convolution that we'll be seeing. Okay, so now you know that yn is, to change the color, y of n is x of n convolution h of n. This is represented as sigma k equal to 0 to infinity. If the signal is causal, if the signal have value in the negative region, that also will be included. So x of k h of n minus k. So this is the equation for convolution, and suppose that the signal that we have considered in the previous slide, 1 2 1 2, is xn, and we consider hn as 1 2 3 4. So 1 2 3. So if you represent this as k, if the variable is k, this become x of k. And here also, if the variable is k, let us change the variable to k such that signal become x of k and h of k. How will you find h of minus k? Just time reverse it, flip it with respect to the y-axis. Then what you're going to get is 4 3 2 1. So here you have 0 minus 1 minus 2 minus 3. 4 3 2 1. So this is h of minus k. And what is x of k? You shall draw x of k here. X of k is, at 0 you have 1 2 1 2. So now what is, you have the equation y equal to sigma xk hn minus k. So let us try to find y of 0, this y of n. How will you find y of 0? Substitute n equal to 0, this become sigma x of k into h of minus k. So for different values of k, find x of k into h of minus k. So x of k and h of minus k are present here. So for different values of k, these are basically k, this also k. So for different values of k, you multiply this and sum. So you multiply this and this is 1. Here you have 0. So when you multiply it with this, it becomes 0. Here you have some values. Here you have 0. So when you multiply, it becomes 0. So you have 1 into 1 equal to 1. So y of 0 is 1. Similarly, what will be y of 1? Y of 1 is sigma x of, put n equal to 1. So it's x sigma xk h1 minus k. So xk is available here. h1 minus k is, you have h minus k. h1 minus k is right shifted version of h minus k by 1. So this will get right shifted by 1. So you'll have 1 into 2 and 2 into 1, which will be added together to get 4. So y of 1 is 4. 2 into 1 plus 2 into 1, which is 2 plus 2, 4. And again, what happened to y2? Again, you shift it. So these three will be multiplied. 1 into 1 plus 2 into 2. 4 plus 1, 5 plus 3, 8. What about y of 3? Again, you shift to right. So you have 4 elements. 2 into 1, 2 plus 2 into 1, 2. So that become 4. Then 2 into 3, 6 plus 4, 10. 10 plus 4, 14. So y of 4, again you shift it. So if you shift it again, what happened? You have these three terms multiplied. This term multiplied with this 4 plus 3 plus 8. 4 into 2, 8, 15. Similarly, y5, again you shift it. So now you have these two terms multiplied. 3 into 2, 6 plus 4, 10. And what about y of 6? Again you shift it. If you again shift, these two values are going to be multiplied. 4 into 2, 8. Again, if you shift it, this is going to be away from this and you don't have any common points and it becomes 0. So if you shift to left also, these are going to be 0. So the signal that you are going to get, that is y of n, is 1 and 0, 1, 4, 8, 14, 15, 10, 10, then 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So these are the values, that is yn, that you're going to get. So this is basically the linear convolution. Now, okay, this much you understood. Now let us go to the frequency domain. What happens in the frequency domain when you do this? Okay, you have x of n. You have y of n also. Probably we shall go to the next slide. We will be seeing what the circular convolution is. As of now, let it be here. Again, we will see the example. You have 1, 2, 1, 2. This x of n. You have h of n also. 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So these two signals, when you convolve, what happens in frequency domain? The spectrum of this signal and spectrum of this signal get multiplied. Now, what can you tell about the spectrum of this signal x of n? X of n is discrete. So definitely the frequency domain representation will be periodic. So let us assume that your x of e raised to omega, which is the discrete time Fourier transform, which is the frequency domain representation of this discrete signal. let that be x. Hope you hear me, right? Can you just give me some feedback through some audio? Anyone of you?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So you have this 1, 2, 1,
Yes, sir.
2, which is xn, and x e raised to omega, which is the discrete time Fourier transform, which will be periodic because this xn is discrete. So let us assume that the signal is something like this. Let us assume that this is a periodic signal, and since this has just 4 values and hn also have 4 values, this is also discrete, so this is also going to be periodic. So let us assume that it is periodic in some other way. Let's assume that these are periodic waveforms which has period like this. So this has periods like this, and since this have a support of 4, support means the signal have values in this region only. So this is having support of 4, and this is also having a support of 4. So their periodicity will be also same. So when you multiply these two signals, you will get another signal which will be also periodic, say with some other waveform. So this is also periodic. When you multiply these two, you get another signal which is also periodic. So this is y e raised to omega, because x e raised to omega and h e raised to j omega. When you multiply, you get y e raised to omega, which will be also periodic. So if you take the inverse of this, you'll get some signal x of y of n. Now suppose that you sample it, you take only one period. If you take only one period, what happens? Okay, suppose that you take the samples of this omega, this is omega. Suppose you say take samples like this. What happened when you make it discrete in some domain? Basically, when you sample, it is becoming discrete. So when you make something discrete in one domain, it becomes periodic in another domain. So the other domain corresponding to y e raised to omega is basically yn. So what happened to yn? When you sample this, when you consider only the samples, what happened to yn? It become periodic, right? So suppose you take the samples of each of these, x is j omega also. Suppose you take samples of this, then basically what is happening? And if you are considering only one period, basically this is dft of x of n, which is xk. And suppose that you are sampling this also. This is the dft of h. So you can represent it as h of k, dft of h of n. We are sampling it and considering only one period. Okay. So this is, let us represent this as capital Y of k, which is the dft of the signal y of n. Now, if we have dft of x of k, we are considering only this portion. And we know that these things are repeating, these are repeating. So these are irrelevant basically. So y of k also same thing happens. Now, what happened when you multiply x of k with h of k? X of k with h of k, if you multiply, you get y of k. definitely you will get y of k. So y of k is basically x of k into h of k. Now what happened in time domain? If you give a signal x of n, your x of n signal, if you take samples like this, what is going to happen in time domain? What happened to x of n when you take sample of y raised to omega? If you just take samples and take inverse Fourier transform, you are making this discrete. So if you make discrete in frequency domain, it will become periodic in time domain. So your new xn, let me represent it as x of, when you take samples, this is x of k. Your new x of n, let me represent it as x tilde n, which is not basically x of n, but so your x of n is 1, 2, 1, 2. But your x tilde n is periodic. Now this has become periodic because you have sampled it in frequency domain. So now you have again 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. The negative region also minus 1, minus 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, minus 3, like that. This is now your x tilde n, or the inverse Fourier transform of xk, or the signal corresponding to xk in time domain will be this periodic signal, which will be repeating like this. And what about the other signal? You have 1, 2, 3, 4. This signal is also there, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This signal also become periodic as we discretize this hk. So you have from 0, 1, 2, 3, you have this value. Again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the negative region also you have these values. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and minus 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, when you have these two signals, what happens when you do shifting and time reversal? Suppose you shift the signal by 1 and you are bothered only about from 0 to 3. So if you shift this by, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you shift this by 1, this 4 moves to this point and it comes to 0. So if you are bothered only about this portion, say from 0 to, if you are considered only about this portion, and a shifting happens, this 4 will come to this point, this will shift to this point, like that. So your new waveform will be at 0 you have 4, at 1 you have say 1, 2, 3. So this is shifting. The shifting that happens here, instead of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, shifting to right, the 4 which was here was shifted to this point, and you call this circular shifting. Circular shifting. So we are going to circular shifting. So when you do normal shifting, what happens in our frame of consideration is that this 4 will come to this point and you get 4, 1, 2, 3. Now, again, if you shift, you get a 3 here. So if the shift is by a factor of 2, you will get 3, 4, 1, 2. If your shift is by a factor of 2, you will get this 3 will come to this point. So 3, 4, then 1, 2. At 0, 1, 2, and 3. So this is our, we are only concerned about this frame from 0 to 4. So this is what is known as circular shifting. Now the time reversal, you normally do shifting and time reversal for finding convolution. So we are concerned about what happened when you take xk into h of k to get y of k, what happens in time domain. That's what we are going to find. So what happens in the time reversal? How do you find time reversal? Again, you consider this from 1, 2, 3, 4. If you time reverse it, what happened? This 4 will come to the position of 1. 3 will come to the position of 2. 2 will come to the position of. So let us time reverse it. Your waveform will be, if you time reverse it, you will get, here you have at 0 doesn't change. At 0 point you have 1 anyway, that will be 1. At 1 you have 2 now, which will go to -1, and 4 will come there. When you rotate with respect to y-axis, 3 will come next, right? Then 2 will come. And again, we are just bothered about from 0 to 3. Okay. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have this value 1, 4, 3, 2. So what happened? The time reversal, what happened to time reversal? If you actually do time reversal for this 1, 2, 3, 4, you will get 4, 3, 2, 1. If you time reverse this, normally what you get is this 3 point will go to -3, which with a value of 4. 2 will go to -2 with a value of 3. So like that, you will get a signal like this: 4, 3, 2, 1. And this at 0, -1, -2, and -3. But when you do circular time reversal, what you're going to get is 1, 4, 3, 2. 1, 4, 3, 2. So basically, if you consider it as a circle, these values 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you write it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The circular time reversal is basically, you take from here 1, 4, 3, 2. 1, 4, 3, 2. That's what has posed here. 1, 4, 3, 2. So this is basically the time reversal. This happened all because you are considering only about the window from 0 to 4. And there are signals outside 0 to 4 ranges. That is what is influencing these changes. So by this way, when you sample xn and hn, you get what happened to y of xk and h, you get x of k and h of k, and when you multiply x of k and h of k, you get y of k. The inverse set transform or the time domain representation of y of k will be periodic, and that periodic signal, when you do shifting and time reversal, the shifting and time reversal, and we are concerned about only the small frame in which there are 4 sequences. So other sequences outside from the frame get inside, and that is how we get circular shifting and circular time reversal. I think yeah. We shall stop today with this. Today's session we shall stop, and we'll continue with this information, that is the time reversal and time shifting, and how to proceed to find the actual y of n with respect to x of n and h of n. That we will continue in next class. I think today's class is till 10:30. So hope you understood today's class. Today's recording, I'll stop recording now.